When we talk about slavery, we often picture adults in the fields. But what about the children? Their story is rarely told. This video reveals what life was like for enslaved children. From their first days, to their first labor, to their struggles for dignity. This is history you were never meant to hear. Ready? Let's go. Were enslaved children ever safe from being sold?
The sale of enslaved children cast a shadow over every family. From birth, no child was safe. Babies could be sold before they crawled. Teenagers could be sold as they neared adulthood. Enslavers saw children as property. Value was measured not by innocence, but by future labor. Even infants carried a price. A baby born into slavery entered a world of pain and uncertainty. From birth, their future was not their own. Some stayed with their mothers, if enslavers allowed it. But some were sold before they even knew a mother's voice. Families lived in fear, never knowing when a knock at the door might shatter their world, or a call to the auction block could tear them apart. Parents begged to keep children close, but the enslaver's word was final. One day, they lay beside their mothers. The next day, they were marched away in tears. Please meant nothing. These separations left scars that never healed. Generations later, families still carried the weight of broken bonds. Every enslaved child lived with the fear that tomorrow could bring permanent separation.
What age did enslaved children begin working?
Enslaved children began labor far earlier than any child should. Some began working as early as 5 or 6 years old. At an age meant for games and lessons, their childhood ended before it had a chance to begin. Enslavers did not see them as children. They saw labor and training. Each birthday brought heavier demands. Every year stripped away more innocence. By the time they were tall enough to stand firm, the weight of adult burdens already pressed on their shoulders. The first duties often began inside the house. Small children were given responsibilities far beyond their years. A broom became their tool, and sweeping floors left their arms sore. Buckets of water were hauled from wells, heavy with each step. Dishes had to be scrubbed, though tiny hands could barely grip them. Food was served to others, while the children themselves went hungry. From sunrise until nightfall, the work never stopped. Every action served the comfort of the enslaver, never the needs of the child. This stage was not simple chores, it was training. Every order and consequence prepared them for the fields that waited ahead.
What age did enslaved children begin field work?
The fields were the harshest place for enslaved children. By 10, many were pushed into rows of cotton, tobacco, or rice. Childhood ended, and adult labor became their daily reality. The sun burned hot above them. Dirt pressed into their bare feet. Their small backs bent under sacks heavier than their bodies. No lighter duties were given. They were expected to keep up. By 12, enslavers no longer called them children. Enslavers declared them adults and forced them into the same heavy labor as grown men and women. And they had to endure other burdens no child should ever face. This shift was never about maturity. It was about profit. Enslaved children worked from the first light of dawn until the darkness of night, with no breaks, no weekends, and no holidays. Exhaustion was their constant companion, and rest was never enough. Some were placed into trades like carpentry, blacksmithing, or sewing. These spared them from the burning sun, but brought strict oversight and crushing demands.
What was the daily diet of enslaved children?
Food for enslaved children was never about comfort. It was survival. Meals were small, plain, and barely enough to keep their bodies moving through long days of labor. Most days started with cornmeal porridge, shifted to mush at noon, and ended with cornbread at night. The taste rarely changed, but it filled their stomachs just enough to continue working. When salted pork was given, it was often tough and overly salted, and eaten more for strength than for enjoyment. Meat was rare, and fruit was even rarer. An apple or a handful of berries felt like treasure, a brief joy in lives marked by hardship. The quality of food depended on the enslaver. Some gave only the bare minimum. Others offered slightly more. But the goal was always the same: keep children alive and working, but never to nourish or care for them.
What clothing did enslaved children wear each day?
The clothing of enslaved children told a story of poverty and struggle. It was never about comfort, only survival in a world built on labor. Boys wore rough shirts and loose trousers cut from coarse cloth. The fabric scratched their skin, but held together under work. Girls wore plain dresses from the same material. Most children wore hand-me-downs. Clothes were patched again and again until nothing was left. Many went without shoes, their bare feet hardened by dirt and stone. Winter brought more suffering. Thin cotton and worn wool could not block the cold. Children shivered through the season, layering scraps if they had them.
What forms of discipline did enslaved children face?
Life for enslaved children was ruled by fear. They risked punishment even with the smallest mistake. Whippings were common, and they left marks on the body and the mind. Children learned quickly that one slip brought pain. They were punished with sticks, fists, or nearby objects to enforce obedience. The bruises faded, but the humiliation stayed. Some were shackled with heavy iron, crushing both body and spirit.
The children's voices were silenced, but their strength still speaks. To honor them, we must never forget. That's a wrap, history seekers. Oh, wait, keep learning with the 400-year journey. From Africa to America podcast. Getting to the roots is where history comes alive. We uncover the truth about Africa, African Americans, and American history, one story at a time. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.